She doesn't fall for your love. She falls for the emotional chemistry you don't even know you're creating. You think women fall for words, for promises, for acts of affection. But what she truly responds to lies beneath all that, beneath logic, beneath morality, beneath even her own awareness. She doesn't fall for you. She falls for what you make her feel about herself when she's around you. That's the first harsh truth. Love is chemistry, not character. Her body reacts before her mind thinks it through. Her emotions are data points. And you, whether you realize it or not, are the trigger. Every glance, every silence, every inconsistency, every pause between your texts either spikes or flattens her dopamine. And dopamine is not romance. It's addiction. You've been told to love her purely, to give fully, to always be available. But the more predictable you become, the faster she emotionally starves. Why? Because certainty kills her craving. When she knows exactly how you'll respond, her brain stops producing dopamine, the same chemical that fuels excitement, anticipation, and desire. The more she knows you, the less she feels you. And that's how good men vanish from her nervous system without ever realizing why. So the question is not, how do I make her love me? The real question is, what kind of emotional chemistry does she get addicted to? Because some men, without even trying, create a pattern in her nervous system that she can't escape. Their absence hurts more than another man's affection. Their silence echoes louder than another man's words. It's not magic, it's psychological design. They understand tension, unpredictability, and polarity. They understand that attraction is not built on comfort, but on contrast. That's why she keeps thinking about them even when she swears she's moved on. Because her body remembers the man who made her feel alive. You see, love doesn't bond her to you. Emotion does. Specifically, volatile, unpredictable emotion wrapped in masculine stability. That's the paradox that enslaves her biology. She craves the man who both unsettles her and anchors her. The man who can vanish into silence without guilt, yet return with gravity so strong it resets her nervous system. This is what I call emotional engineering, the art of calibrating tension, distance, and presence. Most men fail because they love her the way they want to be loved, not the way she gets addicted. That's why the nice guy always loses to the unavailable man. It's not morality, it's neurology. Her subconscious links emotional tension with value. The man who can generate that tension without losing his composure becomes the center of her internal storm. She resents him, but she can't release him. Because deep down, he makes her feel something no one else does. And here lies the dark psychology no one talks about: she doesn't attach to comfort. She attaches to emotional gravity, to the voltage between calm and chaos, to the man who can make her nervous system dance between uncertainty and relief, to the pulse that reminds her she's alive. That's the hidden mechanism of attraction, one that transcends logic, ethics, and even love itself. You may think this sounds cruel, but cruelty is simply truth stripped of illusion. Because love without tension dies quietly, and attraction without danger never matures into devotion. She doesn't crave perfection. She craves calibration, your ability to move her emotions without being moved by them. So ask yourself, do you love her, or do you understand her biology? Do you seek her approval, or do you create her emotional dependence? Because in every relationship, one person becomes the axis and the other the orbit. One person reacts, the other regulates. And the one who regulates emotions always holds the power. This isn't about deceit. It's about awareness. Because when you understand emotional chemistry, you no longer confuse attention with connection. You no longer beg for validation. You become the man whose silence speaks louder than another man's promises. You stop chasing her body and start mastering the system that binds her soul. So stay until the end, because in this journey, you're not just learning about women. You're learning about power. You'll uncover the 5 invisible mechanisms that determine who she remembers, who she forgets, and who she can never replace. And in Part 5, you'll discover the one psychological trigger that transforms fleeting attraction into chemical addiction. She doesn't fall for your love. She falls for the emotional voltage only you can generate. And once you understand that voltage, you stop being an option. You become irreplaceable. Part 1, the dopamine loop. She doesn't fall in love. She gets addicted to dopamine. You've been told that love is an emotion. It isn't. It's a chemical sequence, a neurobiological event triggered and sustained by unpredictability. Every time you make her feel tension, release, and tension again, her brain rewards her with a micro-dose of dopamine. That's not romance. That's addiction. Women don't fall for men. They fall for states of emotion those men create. You are not the drug. You are the dealer. The more unpredictable the supply, the stronger the craving. When she's unsure whether you'll text back, her mind races, her heartbeat accelerates, and her dopamine spikes. When you finally reply, her brain releases that sweet wave of relief. That rise and fall is identical to what happens in a gambler's brain waiting for a slot machine to hit jackpot. It's the reward prediction error, the neurological principle that says the less predictable the reward, the more powerful the high. And so she doesn't remember your kindness, your gifts, or your promises. She remembers the emotional voltage, the fluctuations that made her feel alive. You think she wants security, but once she has it, her brain goes silent. Because dopamine doesn't respond to safety. It responds to uncertainty. Certainty is emotional death. That's why she can leave a stable man for a chaotic one. Why she keeps returning to the same type of man she swore she'd never fall for again. Why she says, "I don't know why I can't stop thinking about him." It's not about him. It's about her neurochemical dependency on the sensations he triggers. You can't argue with biology. You can only learn to use it consciously. Understand this: when a woman feels emotional turbulence with you, tension followed by release, her brain begins to anchor you as the source of that sensation. Even your silence becomes a stimulus. She checks her phone, replays your last message, overanalyzes your tone, not because she cares about logic, but because her nervous system is searching for the next hit of dopamine. You've become her uncertainty. And uncertainty is her addiction. But there's a dark irony here. The same men who try to be good, to give her peace, to remove all stress, accidentally remove all dopamine. And when they step back, she doesn't experience loss. She experiences withdrawal. Her dopamine levels drop, creating a hollow space inside her chest. And the brain hates voids. It tries to fill them by obsessing over the source that once created the high. You. She doesn't miss your body. She misses the chemical imbalance you caused. She misses the way her emotions spiked in your presence and crashed in your silence. That's not romance. That's neurochemistry. And if you've ever felt her pull back only to come closer again, it wasn't her decision. It was her biology recalibrating around the reward cycle. Each time you disappear, her body remembers the thrill of reunion. Each time you return, her brain reinforces the neural pathway that equates you with relief. Congratulations, you've become her variable reward system. But beware, dopamine doesn't bond her. It hooks her. It creates obsession, not loyalty. If all you give her is dopamine, she'll chase the feeling until someone else gives it more intensely. Because the drug isn't you, it's the emotional fluctuation you represent. To make her stay, you need more than stimulation. You need gravity, the masculine calm that anchors her storms. Yet before you can anchor her, you must first understand how to generate the storm. And that's where most men fail. They either create chaos with no control, or control with no chaos. One burns her out, the other bores her to death. The balance, tension and release, uncertainty and stability, is what turns simple attraction into obsession. This is where emotional intelligence meets dark psychology. You're not manipulating her. You're mastering your own signal. Because women don't bond to words, they bond to frequency. Every movement, tone, and pause either amplifies or disrupts the loop. When you can remain composed while she feels chaos, you become the fixed point around which her emotions orbit. She doesn't consciously choose this. Her biology does. And once that imprint forms, no logic can erase it. Even if she leaves, her mind replays your cadence, the dopamine highs, the unpredictable comfort. That's why months later, she still dreams of you. Even while in another man's arms, her body remembers the loop. So stop chasing her attention. Attention is surface-level currency. Instead, learn to control her emotional chemistry. Part 2, the tension principle. Certainty kills attraction. Uncertainty sustains it. Nothing drains a woman's desire faster than predictability. When she knows exactly what you'll say, when you'll text, how you'll react, her mind stops reaching for you. Her emotions flatten because her nervous system no longer feels the thrill of risk. And without risk, there is no emotional investment. Attraction lives in the gap between what she feels and what she knows. The more she tries to read you, the deeper she falls into your gravity. The feminine psyche is built to interpret, to sense, to anticipate. When she can't fully decode you, her mind stays awake. That uncertainty triggers two conflicting chemicals in her brain, oxytocin and cortisol, pleasure and stress. And when those two dance together, they create what neuroscience calls an emotional loop. She feels both safe and anxious, drawn and confused, comforted and restless. That loop is what keeps her emotionally invested long after logic tells her to walk away. You've seen this pattern before. She complains about the man who's inconsistent. She swears she's done with him, that she's tired of the games. But the next time he reappears, her body betrays her. Her heart races, her breath shortens, her defenses collapse. It's not weakness, it's chemistry. The return of the unpredictable stimulus floods her brain with relief, an addictive hit after withdrawal. When you are silent, she feels the loss of control. She wonders, did he lose interest? Did I do something wrong? Has he moved on? Her cortisol rises. She feels a subtle panic. Then when you return with calm composure, her oxytocin spikes. She feels rescued, reconnected, alive again. That cycle, fear and relief, doubt and reassurance, bonds her to you more deeply than words ever could. It's not cruelty, it's polarity. And polarity is the heartbeat of attraction. You don't need to play childish games. You only need to stop being predictable. When every action of yours can be forecast, you give her no emotional terrain to explore. She stops feeling the polarity that makes her feel feminine. She may still appreciate you, but she no longer feels you. Emotion dies in comfort. Tension forces her mind to work, to interpret you. And what the mind works for, it values. You see, tension is not manipulation. It's nature's way of keeping two polarities alive. The masculine creates tension through stillness, distance, and purpose. The feminine resolves that tension through emotion, expression, and surrender. Without that interplay, attraction collapses into neutrality. And neutrality is the death of desire. So when she tests you, when she provokes, argues, or withdraws, it's not because she wants chaos. She wants to feel the strength that can contain her chaos. If you respond with neediness, she feels repulsed. If you respond with cold detachment, she feels unseen. But when you respond with composed tension, neither chasing nor avoiding, she feels polarity. She senses your presence as a force she can't control but can't resist either. That's the tension every woman subconsciously craves, a man who can make her feel both safe and uncertain at the same time. You're not playing games. You're restoring balance to a dynamic that modern men have forgotten. Because attraction isn't built through comfort. It's sustained through calibrated uncertainty. When she never fully knows what you'll do next, her emotions keep orbiting you for answers. You become the mystery her heart keeps trying to solve. And once you become a mystery, you become unforgettable. But tension without something deeper becomes chaos. Without emotional weight, it turns toxic. Because tension alone keeps her addicted, but it doesn't make her trust you. It ignites passion, but it doesn't create permanence. To make her stay, to make her bind, you need something more than chemistry. You need gravity. Part 3, The Gravity Effect. A man with gravity doesn't pull her, he anchors her. Every woman, consciously or not, tests the weight of a man's presence. Not because she wants to destroy him, but because she wants to feel him. She pushes, questions, argues, withdraws, searching for the edge where he collapses. Because only when she finds that he doesn't collapse can she finally rest. Gravity is not charm. It's not dominance. It's the silent field of certainty that surrounds a man who no longer reacts to the emotional weather around him. It's the energy of someone who knows who he is, even when the world, or the woman in front of him, tries to shake that knowing. Where most men flinch, defend, or explain, the man with gravity simply stands. You can't fake gravity. It's not posture. It's not tone. It's the product of inner calibration, the quiet authority of a man whose validation comes from within. His calm is not cold, it's sovereign. His silence isn't absence, it's dominance of self. He doesn't seek to win arguments or prove his worth. He simply embodies the truth: what moves easily has no weight. Women subconsciously measure that weight. When she criticizes you, when she pulls away, when she stirs chaos, it's not always rebellion. It's instinct. She's asking, can I trust your center when mine is falling apart? Every test is a seismic tremor meant to detect whether your foundation holds. If you waver, justify, or panic, she feels unsafe. Her nervous system records, this man cannot contain me. But if you remain steady, calm, unprovoked, unshaken, something deep inside her rewires. Her anxiety melts into surrender. Her emotions, once scattered, begin to orbit around you. That's how gravity works. It doesn't chase. It doesn't demand. It pulls without movement. Influences without effort. It's not what you do. It's what you don't do. Because when you can sit in the storm of her emotions without losing your own center, you stop being another man. You become her axis. She can argue, cry, walk away. But if you stay composed, her nervous system remembers, this is the man who cannot be moved. And paradoxically, that immovability is what moves her the most. Her emotions are chaotic by design, fluid, reactive, testing. Most men try to calm that chaos by collapsing into it, hoping peace will buy affection. But peace born from fear is fragility disguised as kindness. It teaches her that she can move you. And the moment she knows she can move you, she loses respect. You don't become her protector, you become her project. So stop trying to please. Start being immovable. Your calm is not indifference, it's structure. Your stillness is not distance, it's leadership. You're not there to match her emotions. You're there to contain them. That's the masculine function, containment without suppression. Presence without pressure. When she feels your stillness in the midst of her storm, her body instinctively softens. Her breath changes. Her defiance turns into curiosity, because she's no longer fighting you. She's fighting the part of herself that fears surrender. This is what makes certain men unforgettable. They don't chase. They don't convince. They don't bend. Their strength isn't loud, it's gravitational. It bends the emotional space around them, subtly pulling others into alignment. She can't explain why she feels calm in his silence or drawn to his indifference. It's not logical, it's biological. Her nervous system recognizes stability as safety, and safety as desire. Understand this: a man with gravity doesn't compete for attention. He commands it through presence. Every movement, every pause, every glance carries the weight of self-assurance. He knows that energy, not effort, shapes the field between them. And when that energy is unshakable, everything around him eventually settles. This is why some men remain etched in a woman's memory long after they've gone. Not because of what they said, but because of how still they were when she tried to shake them. Their calm became the mirror in which she met her chaos. Their silence became the sound her heart began to crave. That's not manipulation. It's mastery of presence. And once she's felt that presence, she'll measure every man after you against it. But even gravity has its limits. Because stillness alone can become cold. To truly captivate, to sustain that invisible pull, you need contrast, the spark between stillness and fire, between order and chaos. Gravity keeps her anchored, yes, but electricity makes her feel alive. And when those two forces meet, the chemistry becomes magnetic. Part 4, the Polarity Code. She can't surrender to a man she doesn't feel polarity with. Every relationship lives or dies by polarity. Not compatibility, not kindness, polarity. It's the invisible tension between two opposing energies, masculine and feminine, direction and flow, structure and movement. Without that magnetic contrast, a relationship becomes companionship at best, quiet resentment at worst. Polarity is what makes her body soften when you enter the room. It's what silences her mind when you speak with calm certainty. It's the wordless recognition that says, he leads. I can let go. The modern world teaches men to suppress this polarity, to be agreeable, empathetic, and endlessly accommodating. But what begins as empathy ends as erosion. Because when you abandon your masculine direction to make her comfortable, you remove the very structure that allows her to relax. She doesn't want your control. She wants your containment. She doesn't want your dominance. She wants your direction. She doesn't want to obey, you never asked her to. She simply wants to feel that she can trust the current you generate. Masculine polarity is not aggression. It's presence sharpened by purpose. It's the energy that says, I know where I'm going. You're safe to feel whatever you feel. It's unshakable attention anchored in self-control. When you hold that polarity, she unconsciously mirrors it. Her breath deepens. Her tone softens. Her resistance dissolves. Not because she's weak, but because her feminine essence can finally rest. She doesn't surrender to you. She surrenders through you, through the safety of your certainty, through the quiet command in your eyes that says, I'm not here to argue. I'm here to lead. And that leadership is not about control. It's about calibration. You're not trying to dominate her mind. You're guiding her emotions back into harmony. You're not suppressing her chaos. You're giving it rhythm. That's the hidden architecture of polarity, the tension that electrifies intimacy while grounding it in trust. The reason many men fail in relationships is not because they're bad people. It's because they've become energetically neutral. Too masculine and they become tyrants. Too feminine and they become invisible. Polarity dies when a man tries to mirror her emotions instead of grounding them. When he seeks her approval instead of directing his own path. When he reacts to her chaos instead of absorbing it. The moment you lose polarity, she stops feeling you. The relationship doesn't explode, it evaporates. Her passion fades. Her respect erodes. Her body stops responding. Not because she stopped caring, but because her biology stopped sensing contrast. She needs to feel the edge between your stillness and her motion. Without that edge, desire withers. But when polarity is strong, when your masculine presence meets her feminine flow, something ancient awakens. Her nervous system recognizes the pattern: safety within structure, freedom within boundaries. Her defenses lower. Her laughter returns. Her eyes search for yours, because finally she can stop performing and simply feel. This is why the same woman who resents one man's authority will melt in the presence of another's. She's not reacting to dominance. She's reacting to depth. When your authority comes from fear, she resists. When it comes from presence, she responds. The feminine always yields to the masculine that is grounded in truth. Because truth to her body feels like freedom. And here's the paradox: you don't create polarity by chasing connection. You create it by embodying direction. When you stand firm in your purpose, her emotions find their home in your stability. When you know what you want and move toward it without needing her permission, she feels the magnetic pull of certainty. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. And that alignment is what awakens her surrender. She doesn't melt for compliments. She melts for command delivered without ego. She doesn't crave comfort. She craves tension held with love. She doesn't want to feel small. She wants to feel safe enough to let her walls down. This is why polarity is sacred. It restores the natural current between chaos and order, motion and stillness, water and stone. When the current flows, love becomes alchemy. Every word, every silence, every touch becomes charged with electricity. Her softness doesn't make her weak. Your stillness doesn't make you cold. Together, they create the voltage that sustains desire long after novelty dies. You don't chase connection. You generate it through your composure, your decisiveness, your unspoken leadership. You don't need to say, "Follow me." You move first, and her instinct follows. Because in a world of chaos, the man who radiates direction becomes irresistible. His energy says, "You can let go now." And every fiber of her being answers, "Finally." But polarity on its own creates endless electricity. Without form, it burns out. For polarity to become addiction, it must meet something rarer, something most men never master. Because even electricity fades unless it's surrounded by scarcity. Part 5, The Scarcity Imprint. She doesn't miss you because you're gone. She misses you because no one else feels like you. Attraction begins with chemistry. Attachment begins with tension. But addiction, true emotional addiction, begins with scarcity. Scarcity is not absence. It's uniqueness. It's the recognition, often unconscious, that what she felt with you cannot be replicated elsewhere. It's not about how much you gave her. It's about how precisely you calibrated what you withheld. Every man can touch a woman's body. Few can touch her nervous system. When you master the dance between closeness and distance, when you can hold her with presence and then vanish without apology, you create contrast. That contrast becomes a signature emotion, a feeling her mind can't reproduce with anyone else. It becomes an imprint. The way your silence felt heavier than another man's affection. The way your stillness steadied her chaos. The way your withdrawal made her body ache with recognition. Scarcity is the rarest currency in the modern world. Everything is available. Everyone is reachable. Attention is cheap. But presence, true, grounded, intentional presence, is extinct. And when you embody it, even for moments, you become irreplaceable. Because she may find men more attractive, more talkative, more available, but none who feel like you. That's how the imprint forms. Her brain marks you as a pattern of emotional highs and lows that no one else can recreate. The dopamine from uncertainty. The oxytocin from closeness. The cortisol from distance. All tied to your specific energy, your voice, your timing. She's not addicted to you. She's addicted to the emotional contrast that only you delivered. And that contrast becomes her private religion. She may reject it consciously, but her body still prays to it. When you disappear, she doesn't just feel loneliness, she feels withdrawal. Her system searches for that same blend of safety and danger and finds nothing. The new man is too eager, too transparent, too easy. He provides comfort, but no pulse. You provided polarity, a rhythm between security and uncertainty that carved a groove in her psyche. Now everything else feels flat. That's why she stalks your social media but never reaches out. Why she tells her friends she's over you while her body remembers every detail. Why months later, she still feels a pang when she hears your name. Because you didn't just leave an impression, you left an imprint. A neurological signature her system can't erase. This is the final stage of emotional engineering. You don't need to be the most handsome, the richest, or the most charming. You only need to be irreplaceable in frequency. Because frequency is what her nervous system remembers. It's not your face. It's the feeling of being near you. The specific blend of safety and danger, certainty and mystery, that only your presence could generate. Most men try to win through abundance, more attention, more affection, more availability. But abundance without scarcity creates dependency, not desire. She takes you for granted because you're always there. She stops valuing your presence because it costs her nothing to access it. But when you become scarce, not absent, but rare, her system recalibrates. She begins to realize that access to you is conditional. That your time, your energy, your presence are not guaranteed. And that realization shifts her from entitlement to appreciation. From comfort to craving. You understand her programming. You recognize that the more rare your emotional frequency, the more her system clings to it. And scarcity isn't about pretending to be busy or detached. It's about being rare in essence. Every man can vanish. Few can vanish without resentment. Every man can stay calm. Few can remain calm and magnetic. When you hold your distance not from pride, but from purpose, when your absence feels intentional rather than reactive, you create scarcity. You teach her that your energy cannot be summoned. It must be earned. This is why the most unforgettable men are paradoxes. They are present yet distant, open yet ungraspable. They offer emotional safety, but never emotional certainty. And that paradox burns into the feminine psyche like a code she can't decode. She doesn't chase you for love, she chases you for meaning. Because your mystery becomes her mirror. Through you, she meets parts of herself she didn't know existed. She can date. She can laugh. She can even fall for someone else. But she won't unfeel you. Because you didn't just touch her heart. You rewired her chemistry. You didn't just give her emotions. You gave her an experience that became the benchmark. Every man after you competes with your absence. That is the final layer of dark psychology, the point where attachment transcends reason. Where your name is not remembered but felt. Where your silence becomes the loudest sound in her body. And that's when you understand the essence of power. It never lies in control. It lies in awareness. When you master scarcity, you no longer chase significance. You become it. You stop demanding loyalty because your energy creates it. You stop proving your worth because your rarity confirms it. And she, consciously or not, begins to orbit the memory of what she can't replace. That is the scarcity imprint, the final mechanism of emotional addiction. It's not about making her need you. It's about being the man she can't replicate. And that's when power begins. Not in control, but in awareness. You were never powerless. You were just uncalibrated, ***. You thought she left because you weren't enough. Because you didn't have the looks, the money, or the charm. But it was never about any of those things. It was about calibration, how you moved her emotions, how you held tension, how you balanced chaos with control. You didn't fail because you lacked value. You failed because you gave without voltage, loved without gravity, desired without direction. She didn't want your affection. She wanted to feel herself through your gravity. Every woman searches, consciously or not, for the man who makes her feel her own depth. The man whose stillness magnifies her movement, whose silence bends her emotions back into orbit. Because in that balance, where your presence is unshakable and her chaos finds rhythm, she finally feels alive, whole, seen. That's not love. That's psychological resonance, the rare alignment between masculine presence and feminine emotion. It's when two nervous systems meet not to comfort each other, but to balance each other. Your steadiness creates her surrender. Her surrender amplifies your strength. And together, you form a feedback loop that feels divine. That's the secret nobody tells you. She doesn't crave perfection. She craves polarity. She doesn't chase affection. She chases gravity. Once she's tasted that equilibrium, no thrill can replace it. No touch, no face, no new body can replicate the feeling of her storm being met by your stillness. Because what she's addicted to isn't you. It's the peace that only your presence could create and the uncertainty you used to disturb. That paradox defines her attachment. The same tension that once scared her is what her body now misses the most. Your restraint gave her freedom. Your distance gave her meaning. And your silence gave her reflection. Understand this: the purpose of all her tests, her games, her contradictions was never to punish you. It was to find your center. Every accusation was a plea: show me that you won't disappear when I lose control. Every withdrawal was a question: can I trust you to stay grounded when I'm breaking apart? And every argument was her unconscious way of saying, lead me back to safety even when I push you away. She was never fighting you. She was fighting for the edge that could hold her chaos. When you stop reacting, when you stop collapsing, when you finally embody the gravity she's been searching for, she stops testing. Because she's found what her nervous system was looking for: the man who cannot be moved. A man with power understands emotion. He doesn't react to it, he shapes it. He knows that love is not a prize. It's a polarity maintained through awareness. He knows that a woman doesn't choose the man who gives her everything. She chooses the one whose energy makes her feel something she can't explain. So if you've ever felt powerless, understand this: you were never without power. You were simply uncalibrated. Power doesn't mean being louder, colder, or more detached. It means being unmoved inside while the world around you trembles. It means letting her chaos crash against your silence until she realizes you're not the storm, you're the shore. And once she recognizes that, she can't help but return to you. You were never competing with other men. You were competing with her need for safety. And the moment she feels that safety, not the soft kind, but the stable kind, she binds herself to it. Because the feminine can only expand when the masculine stays rooted. That's why the men she remembers are not the loudest, richest, or most romantic. They're the ones whose energy didn't break when hers did. So don't teach her to love you. Become the axis her emotions cannot escape. Because when you master that level of awareness, you stop chasing women altogether. They begin to sense your presence before you even speak. Your energy announces itself as equilibrium. And equilibrium is irresistible. You were never powerless. You were the calibration she was always searching for. And now that you understand the psychology of emotion, you'll never be forgotten again.